Welcome everyone to the Donovan Live postgame show on WKYC's Facebook Live with Jim Donovan. I'm Dave DiNatale.
There's no reason to be nervous.
There's not, right.
You're pretty good at this.
We only do this every day. It's like I say, we just do this every day. All right. First and foremost, Mr. Donovan, how about our friends at the Cleveland Browns? And I put a link for everybody right here at Facebook Live, and you can go to WKYC.com. Last night, the Browns put out a top 10 video reel of your top 10 calls of this past Browns season, which, of course, number one was going to be Nick Chubb. I mean, we knew that, the 92-yard run. But it also featured in some of those calls the booth shots of you and Deke and the rest of the crew in there.
Right.
Great stuff. I hope you have a chance to watch it. And again, we have the link here at Facebook Live and WKYC.com.
Because I think it points out visually that Doug Deacon has to calm down.
You're right.
I mean, he's really got to pull it down a few notches.
This is Deke. If you want, I mean, this is literally what he does, but he's right there.
I got to tell you, yeah. Well, it was very nice. I mean, I hope we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of losses the last couple of years, but we had a lot of fun this year, and it was and it grew.
Mm-hmm.
It just kept getting better and better and better, and you got a little bit of a taste of what it was going to be like when the Browns started to win, and people expected them to win, and it was really cool. I never told you this, but just to dive into that point a little bit about the expectations and how people were excited. When we landed from Baltimore the night they lost the last game of the season, there were fans out at the airport waiting for them.
Wow.
Yeah. And I said to Doug, I said, can you imagine? Doug was on that team, the 80 Cardiac Kids, that won the division in Cincinnati and came home, and there were like 6,000 people at the airport, and they had to take them over to a different part of the airport because the crowd was so big. Now, I think that's going to happen here.
I do too.
I think that all of these old Browns traditions are going to come back. It's going to be a renaissance.
Right.
It really is. But I never told you that. I mean, I hadn't seen you.
Yeah, I hadn't seen you. We didn't get a chance to do the show at the end of the year.
All kinds of signs, they formed like a fan tunnel, and everybody get in their cars, and you're driving through all these signs. Thank you for the season.
And again, I mean, it was a 7-8-1 season.
Right.
But it goes to show how excited people are because the Browns are trending upwards. Even though at the time there was, we didn't know who was going to be the head coach.
Right.
And, there was a few question marks on how that process was going to play out.
Right.
But the fact that the Cleveland Browns in December were better than they were in September.
Yeah.
It gives people reason to hope, and hope means that they're willing to go to the airport on a late night to greet you guys coming back from a 4 o'clock game.
Tony Grossi wrote a really good column today, and it was about Freddie Kitchens and the state of the Browns that he has inherited as compared to what a lot of coaches have inherited when they've become the head coach of the Browns. And I mean, he has a quarterback.
Yes.
He has a young cornerback. He's got an elite pass rusher. He's got a running back. Okay. He also has a great front office now. Not just a good front office, but he's got a great front office that is stable. There are no changes in their front office. They are not firing their scouting department and looking for guys to go out and go to the combine. I mean, it is loaded and ready. They have money to spend. They have 11 draft choices. No, they don't have the first and they don't have the fourth pick anymore. Thank God.
Yes.
But they have 11, that they can do some things with. I mean, the owners are taken are more confident in what their role is.
Yep. I think they have number one, I think they're comfortable. They finally have the right person running the football operations in John Dorsey.
Yeah,
and I think that was a big thing. And they got the quarterback right. And that was another big thing. And I agree with you. I think they're very comfortable taking a step back and making sure they're focusing on everything else. I mean, this is a family business that now is partially owning the Columbus Crew and obviously Pilot Flying J. They've got a lot of things on their plate. I think they feel like their investment in Cleveland is secure with John Dorsey and his staff, and now Freddie Kitchens is the head coach.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say this, and I don't think I'm being, exaggerating it or trying to be dramatic. I mean, listen, they didn't have wobbly years here. They had bad years here starting out. I mean, there were a lot of, very, very, detours, bad moves, bad decisions, bad drafting, getting overly involved in the draft. Weird configurations of people getting jobs and, are they actually cut out for that particular job? You can all fill in the blanks. I mean, we all know the script. Okay, but really, they had some bad years. Not shaky years, bad years. So they had a good year this year.
And a lot of it is, though, I have to imagine, as you watch the development of the Cleveland Browns week in and week out in the radio booth, and we've said this 1,000 times, and we'll say it 1,000 more times. When you have the quarterback, and you can tell from the eye test that he can play, and he can be very, very good. He can be a franchise quarterback. Well, I mean, that's fun too, because the way Baker plays and the types of plays that he makes, that lends itself to that feeling of excitement and fun as well.
Yeah, and there's an example here. I mean, and you're going to see it on center stage on Sunday evening. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is a slinger. I mean, he is kind of a gunslinger at the quarterback position. Baker Mayfield's a gunslinger too. Okay, he's not afraid to make any throw. I mean, no defense makes him, knocking in the knees that he doesn't want to put the ball in a tight window. I mean, he thinks he can make every throw, and there's a lot of evidence that he can. But you're going to see Patrick Mahomes do that too. And I think you have to. I think the days of nibbling in the NFL are gone. The 14-play drives, they don't work anymore. They just don't work.
You have to be. It's this whole fast break, air raid.
Brian Hoyer was a 14-play drive guy, and Brian did it pretty well. He really did. He did it pretty well.
They won 7. I mean, they won 7 games.
Yeah, they won 7 games.
Way.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. But the new NFL is you got to take your shots together. You got to get down the field quicker and in bigger chunks of yardage. Mayfield gives you the opportunity to do that. Mahomes certainly gives you the opportunity to do that. I don't know if Jared Goff is kind of like that. I think he's a little bit more of a nibbler.
Yes.
And Wentz plays completely different. Darnold's. I don't think Darnold's at the. I don't think Darnold pushes it like Mayfield does.
Not quite.
Baker really pushes the game.
Yeah.
And he'll learn, and maybe he'll be pushing the game to some better people. I mean, I still think they can upgrade a little bit at wide receiver.
I do too.
And,
it was nice to see. I mean, Jarvis Landry's going to go to the Pro Bowl, and that's great. But yeah, you'd like to see. I think another high talent guy around him, so you can so Antonio Callaway can just kind of and Higgins just can kind of grow. And I don't know if Perriman's another guy that I think they're going to really need to take a good look at.
Oh, I think they're going to try and sign him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a free agent. The other thing that Tony brought up, and this is very important, the roster's set.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I mean,
the cupboard's full.
Yeah, they added 31 players this year, 31 new players this year, okay? They're pretty well set. I mean, they have a decision to make on Jamie Collins. They have a decision to make on Greg Robinson, which I think they want. And the decision there is to pay the electric bill.
Yeah, I was going to say, the hamster on the treadmill took a break apparently.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I think that they have a decision to make on that. They have a decision to make on Perriman.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, they don't have a lot of other decisions to make. I think they have a decision to make on E.J. Gaines.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, they're pretty well. They have a decision to make on the kicker.
Right.
And I know how that. My decision on that would be pretty quick.
Yeah.
Get a kicker.
I mean, we saw the one of your top 10 was the kick against the Ravens that just barely. I mean, I loved your line. I'd forgotten it that the ball had some yellow on it because it just cleared the crossbar.
It did.
I mean, and Greg Joseph did what he had to, and but I think you'd like an upgrade as you look towards being a playoff.
Yeah,
team.
and I think nowadays kicking in the NFL easier said than done to find these guys. The Bears had a great team, but Cody Parkey missed 11 kicks, and he missed the one that knocked them out. And there are other situations too. I mean, Adam Vinatieri the other day missed a 23-yard field goal.
And now all of a sudden it's like, finally, he's a Hall of, I think he's a Hall of Famer,
yeah.
but his career might be over,
yeah. You think of some of the big kicks he's had.
Oh.
I mean, they're unbelievable. They're historic.
Right.
Easier said than done, but very important to get the right kicker.
Absolutely. Another example today of what this idea of the right kind of coach for the Cleveland Browns would be somebody who the community can really kind of embrace and get behind because he's one of us, talking about Freddie Kitchens. He made an unscheduled call this morning on a 92.3 The Fan on the Ken Carman show with Anthony Lima, and ended up being on the phone. They were joking about Joel Bitonio, where Bitonio was, and ended up being on the phone with those guys for 7 or 8 minutes and just saying, hey, look, when you talk about the Browns, you got to say hell yeah going forward. And you sit there and you go, yeah, this is somebody. I mean, you're appealing right to the fan base when you call a morning sports talk show, a local morning sports talk show.
Right.
You're talking to your audience right there. And I'm like, boy, Freddie Kitchens gets it. He really does.
He really does, yeah. The Browns told me the other day that last week when the story came out that he had gotten the job, there's a famous show down south in Alabama. It's in his hometown, and it's 2 guys that have become kind of legendary. They're morning drive guys, and they called up the Browns to try and get him on, but they couldn't find him. But they said if they could have, Freddie would have definitely gone on their show. I forget what it's called. It's somebody out there, but it's a famous show that's very popular down in the South, almost like the Paul Feinbaum show. But these are 2 guys that have just been doing it, Robbie and something.
Yeah.
And they knew that they were going to, I guess he always goes on with them. And he would have gone on with them the other day if they could have been able to reach him.
I mean,
that's the kind of guy
he is.
Yeah,
he really is. He does seem like I do what I say and I say what I do, and if I make a commitment to be on your show or whatever, I'm going to do it. And, that's easy to appreciate. How about this? And you can always message us here on Facebook Live during the show. From Robin, I'm a 59-year-old woman who has brown and orange running through my blood. Sounds like somebody that Freddie Kitchens would love. I stand by my Browns since birth. I wish my father was alive to have seen Baker play, and I know, Robin, there are many who, like you in the Browns family, who probably were like, God, I wish, such and such. I wish my mom would have been around to watch the Browns this year and to watch the emotion. Something that struck me when you were in Denver.
That's very touching.
That's a great, thank you, Robin, for that very much. When the Browns beat the Broncos out in Denver, you had, and again, you can see the video here, the press box was open, and you had Browns fans sitting under you, giving you high fives after Jabril Peppers made the sack to end the game. I mean, and I thought that just made me think about it. The family of fans all kind of feel like this, that it's coming together.
Yeah. Well, there were a lot of Browns fans out there. It was like a pilgrimage destination. I mean, it really was. That whole weekend was really memorable because we were out there a couple of extra days. The Browns went out earlier than most road games. So, and there were just Browns fans coming in Friday. Remember, the game was Saturday night. Friday, Saturday morning. And Denver's got a very cool downtown. They really do. And it's a gathering spot. And I'm telling you, there were 6 jerseys everywhere. I mean, in Denver, you see 7 jerseys, right? Still, to this day, John Elway jerseys or 58, Von Miller. But it was Baker Mayfield jerseys. It was Peppers. It was, Denzel Ward. It was Myles Garrett jerseys. It was really cool. And that's when you can kind of feel it. Yeah. It's turning.
That's, and when you start hearing the stories, and it's like, because we always, when I was doing radio sports talk, fans would call in and say, boy, I've been a Browns fan. I'm a Browns fan who now lives in Arizona, but I've been a Browns fan since 1960, whatever. And I feel that, as I felt good for those fans. And I think about Robin, and Jeremy adds, I wish my dad could see Baker. He would have had so much fun. I think about you fans, because you're the ones, you're the sons and daughters of Browns fans, and you've kind of all come of age like we have, through some bad football, but because our fathers or our mothers always said, hey, the Browns, you root for them, you ride or die. And when you see bright spots like this, you feel good because it's a family thing.
Well, yeah, it really is. You're right. And and you were tested for a lot of years of keeping it a Sunday fixed appointment to watch the Browns because of the way the Browns were playing, and they weren't the Browns that you remember, and they were very, very far away from doing that. But enjoy Mayfield. I mean, enjoy him. I mean, he wants you to enjoy him. He's along for the ride. I mean, he might be in the, he's driving the bus, really. But think about this. This kid went out and said, hey, I'd like to see more people in the stands.
Yep.
And you all responded and packed the place. Yeah. Okay, now they were out of the playoffs at that time. Yeah. Unfortunately, things didn't happen the right way for them on that Sunday after they beat the Broncos, right? Everything went wrong. Pittsburgh won, everything happened, But they packed the place.
Yep.
And it was on his lead that he said, hey, I'd really like to see the thing. I'd like to see the stadium packed. And they packed it.
Yep.
And then they went out and they had a ball. And that place had a ball that day. And as soon as they won the game, they put him on the microphone, to the whole stadium. And he thanked everybody. Hey, I know I asked you to come out, and I know it's it's close to Christmas, but hey, thanks for coming out. The place went crazy, and that's it.
Yep. And that was, and I think when he started talking about that at the combine, this is almost a year ago. This is like, what, 13 months ago or whatever, or 11 months ago.
Just about a year ago.
Yeah,
right.
about a year ago. He's at the combine in Indianapolis, and people are asking him, what happens if the Cleveland Browns pick you first overall? I mean, and he was like, and a lot of people are like, I don't want to go to Cleveland. I'd rather go somewhere else or whatever. And he's like, you know what? I can turn that franchise around. I want a shot to turn that franchise around. Yeah. And
didn't he say? I mean, I can't think of a better person than me to go in and turn that franchise around. And he was right.
Right. And a lot of us are sitting there going, okay, that's what Johnny Manziel said, or that's what Brandon Whedon said, or whatever. No, this is different. This is different. And I have to imagine when you told me last night. And I know you also mentioned it to Chris Ty during Donovan Live. You had more fun calling the games in 2018 than in any other season since you've been the voice of the Browns. 20. You're going to be number 21 this year. Even though it was not a above 500 season, even in 2002, there was a quarterback. There was, you had Tim Couch and the Kelly Holcomb thing, and even in 2007, that was they put up points early in the season and it was fun, but of course we know it kind of trended downward at the end of the season. Baker Mayfield, I have to imagine, was one of the prime reasons why it was so much fun.
Oh, it really was. I mean, Derek Anderson was they used to have to really nurse him through a game. Because he had a great arm. Yeah. I mean, Derek Anderson had a phenomenal throwing arm. He's a big guy. And at that time, that was the way to go, right? Roethlisberger, a big, strong guy in the pocket. Derek Anderson with a big guy. And, as people always said, in Cleveland, you got to be able to throw the ball through the wind and everything like that. Right. And he could do that. But you had to nurse him through the game. You had to really spoon feed him a couple of easy plays early in the game to get him going, because he could go the other way very easily and start out with a pick or a 3 and out, and then they built to 2 3 and outs, and you're in trouble. Not so with this guy. This guy comes out ready to go. That's why I don't know why they defer when they win the toss.
Give me the ball.
Yeah, I think they have to handcuff him to the bench, because I think he's ready to go. He's completely different. Yeah, and he just made it so much fun. His foot was always on the gas.
Yeah.
His foot was always on the gas.
Now you had that. You had the attitude and you had the arm strength, but as Robin points out, you also had the ability for him to learn the system and read defenses as well as we've seen any quarterback in Cleveland do, maybe since Bernie Kosar. The cerebral game, he's up to that challenge too.
Yeah, and they saw that, when they kind of had the opportunity to sit down with him pre-draft, and they sat down with him and they put them up on a whiteboard, they call it, and they give them and they draw things, and he had it memorized in like 3 minutes.
Right.
And it was perfect. And and then they saw the leadership factor, the way the people in Oklahoma were just stuck like glue onto him. And I mean, think about it. I mean, John Dorsey knew a year ago, like right now,
Right.
that he was going to draft Baker Mayfield. I mean, you and I are sitting up here. Let's face it. I was saying, okay, Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold's gonna be the guy.
Will be great,
Right. Yeah.
And they knew all along. They weren't even thinking about the first pick. They were thinking about the fourth pick,
right.
and the 32nd pick, or
Right,
whatever.
right. I mean, and we're all sitting there going, which quarterback is it going to be? Could Josh Allen be in the mix? It could, it could be Rosen. No, I mean, he knew, and boy, he got it right. One other Browns note. This came up before we got on the show. The Browns apparently have a new defensive line coach, Tosh Lupoi, who is the defensive coordinator at Alabama, another member of Nick Saban's staff, moving elsewhere.
That would mean that Clyde Simmons would be out.
Yeah.
I thought Clyde did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
I really
did too.
Yeah.
Now, according to Bruce Feldman, Lupoi was a huge recruiting force the Tide had. He was the prime recruiter for Tua, amongst other, Trevon Diggs, Najee Harris, Alex Leatherwood. So, of course, not in the NFL, you don't necessarily need a good recruiter.
We don't need the recruiter.
I need somebody to go, to go sell a free agent maybe to come here. But his job is going to be to keep that defensive line, and I would imagine the Browns will look at, interior options perhaps in the draft or free agency
I think so.
to supplement, but make sure Myles Garrett continues to be a force and continues to develop.
Yeah, I think so. I really do believe, and I think other people connected to the team believe, that the Browns kind of need a big defensive tackle that can handle things inside that. I don't know that they got what they thought they were going to get this year with Trevon Coley.
Yeah.
They did with Ogunjobi, though. Ogunjobi played very, very well. But inside, they struggled to put that together. I mean, at the end of the year, they were playing like Brian Price, people like that. And, they were kind of putting a Band-Aid over things. I mean, I will say this. I don't really know a great deal about this coach, but I would say Alabama has had great defensive linemen that have come into the NFL. They really have.
Yeah.
So
it's, again, that's not official from the Browns, but Bruce Feldman was the first to report it. I've seen Ian Rappaport report it as well. So,
boy, I'll tell you what, Nick Saban has been raided.
Stripped
of
his
players.
Yeah.
I mean, now they're saying Jalen Hurts is transferring to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And I know he expected that, but he's lost coaches, which he does every year. He loses coaches, and now he's going to lose another coach. Mm-hmm. He's lost a bunch of players that declared for the draft. Right. I mean, man, he has to go back to work right after that Clemson game and repair.
It's like we talked about last night, though. This is the thing that, almost like why you need co-coordinators, because things change so quickly. You're sitting there going, is my defensive coordinator going to take going to go Kirby Smart on me and take a job somewhere else?
You know what I think he should do? I think he should be his own defensive coordinator.
I do too.
He is so brilliant as a defensive coordinator, and what he did under Bill Belichick with the Browns.
Yes.
Do you know? I remember the game. It was the year they made the playoffs with Belichick.
94. Yep.
Okay, and you probably remember it because you're like me. We have those memories of big games, and they played at that time. If you played the Saturday afternoon, late in the year, 4:00 game, it was a national game. It was NBC.
Yep.
And they were playing the Cowboys down at the old Texas Stadium.
Yeah.
And it was Aikman and Emmett Smith and Jay Novacek and all of the
two-time defending champs.
Yeah, they were all there. And the Browns played the most incredible defensive game, and they just got enough points. But they had an infamous goal line stand at the end of the game. Jay Novacek got nailed.
Like I say, stop Novacek. Yeah, I remember that.
Was it Eric Turner?
I think it was.
Okay, they made the play in the goal line. And there's a scene where Belichick runs down the sideline and grabs Nick Saban and hugs him because of the job he did. Now, Saban was going to leave at the end of the year and go to Michigan State. But that's how great a defensive mind he had. Now, I know he's the CEO. There's no doubt about it. He's the CEO of Alabama's football program. But I wouldn't be surprised if he got back into it more on a coordinator type
I
thing
would agree.
and runs his own defense.
I would agree. I think what happened against Clemson, I think, probably was pretty shocking. It's like, oh, wait a minute here. Maybe we need to rethink how we're doing this. And, for the Browns, I mean, Tosh Lupoi doesn't have to call the defensive schemes when he comes here. He just has to, take care of the defensive line. But, one Alabama guy reaching down to another in that pipeline. And again, Jimmy, it's another high profile, but somewhat, a little unconventional hire. I mean, they go up to Canada to get Chris Jones. Now you're going to Alabama to get Lupoy.
Let me draw a comparison though, which really came up in spades for the Browns this year. Adam Henry did a magnificent job as the Browns wide receiver coach.
No
and
doubt.
He came from LSU last year. He came out of the college ranks, and he did a magnificent job with Perriman, Callaway, and even Josh Gordon when he was there. But remember, he also did a great job with Higgins.
Right.
Did a great job with Willies and Ratley. I mean, Landry doesn't,
He coached
and Landry knew him.
Yeah, he coached Landry and Beckham. So in college.
So I mean, the jump from being a really solid college coach to even a position coach in college to come to the NFL, especially at the SEC level, because you're really coaching NFL players.
Yeah, exactly right.
especially those defenses. That's an interesting move, and I'm sure Adam Henry, and Freddie knew that very well because Adam Henry was, on his side of the ball with the wide receivers. He's probably saying, I don't fear doing this at all. I mean, look at what Adam Henry did for us.
Right, absolutely. So,
boy, they have really hired an interesting staff.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think some of us maybe thought that, well, if freaking Greg Williams was going to get the job, but Freddie Kitchens gets the job, maybe he'll keep some of the assistants he worked with around. Well, a handful, but he really wanted to do this his way and bring in guys that he felt comfortable with. And I think, from day one, getting Steve Wilkes, I think, really set the tone.
That was a major get. You're right. Now, I would hope that Clyde Simmons would go to the Jets with Greg Williams because I think Clyde did a really good job. I really did. I really did.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye certainly on that. But again, according to Bruce Feldman, the Browns have themselves a new defensive line coach, Tosh Lupoy, the former defensive coordinator at Alabama. Jimmy, as always, great stuff tonight.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, for David Herberton, for Jim Donovan, I'm Dave DiNatale. Thanks for watching the Donovan Live postgame show on WKYC's Facebook Live.